Assalamualaikum and very good morning. First question, can you hear me?
Yes, doctor.
Alright, thank you. Okay, as usual, before we start, please make sure you submit your attendance. Okay, and today we are going to, someone please record this. Today we are going to learn activity diagram. So it's going to be a very fast lecture today. It's quite simple. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, so first of all, before we start, I also would like to welcome some of members from Group 6. So now I supposed to have full blown of class lah. Okay, regardless because we are virtual online anyway. So okay, let's start. Today we are going to learn about activity diagram. Activity diagram is one of interaction diagrams that you have learned last 2 weeks on through sequence diagram. So this is another way of representing business process modeling. So basically for this diagram, you will understand the purpose of drawing the activity diagram. And then what is the best practices to follow when modeling business processes and understand the notation of activity diagrams, how to draw basically, and then steps in drawing the activity diagram. Okay, so basically activity diagrams to portray the primary activities and the relationships among the activities in the process. Usually we use it for high level business workflow. You have learned it actually in your FOP class, Fundamental of Programming using control flow. What do you call that? Control flow, the diagram, right? What to do one after another. Okay, so it's exactly the same. However, activity diagram is more appropriate. Every single notation represents some meaning. Okay, because it's very straightforward what to do one after another. So usually when do you draw activity diagram? Is to model a task or to model a use case diagram. The concept is just like sequence diagram. If you have 10 use cases, it means that you're going to have 10 sequence diagrams. Same thing happens to activity diagram. If you have 10 use cases, it means you're going to have 10 activity diagrams, including the included and expanded use cases. Okay, so the purpose is just the same, to model the behavior of the business process. You will describe the function of the system represented by a use case, and then describe the logic, and then to model the activities that make up the life cycle in the process. So this is basically we just want to show you this, the best practices in drawing the process flow based on Martin Schubl. I don't know how to pronounce. Okay. So basically, it must be realistic because it is virtually impossible to identify everything. Even though I know that you have done sequence diagram by now for your project, so you realize that it's very close to programming, right? However, most of the time it's not really exactly like you're going to program. It's still at the abstract layer before you go for discrete level in the programming part. Okay. You have to be agile. It means that you draw something and then you go to another diagram, you will go back to redo certain diagram and go back. That is why I keep on telling you that after you will have your sequence diagram, you realize that you have to redo your class diagram, you know. And then sometimes you have to redo your use case diagram. You just realize that, oh, we have it too detailed. We have it wrong, you know. This one should be combined with this use case. We call it as an agile. We forward and backward over time to improve the design. Okay. All modeling is a collaborative and social activity, and then we do not use a case tool to do modeling. We use pen and paper first, and then after you confirm, and then we go back to case tool. In this situation, I'm not kind of agreeing, you know, because I think this person is an old school person. So at this time, most of you, I believe, quite comfortable with the technology, and then you can draw everything very fast. You know, if you want to redo something, to edit something, you want to delete and combine things, it's quite easy for you to use the case tool. If you are not comfortable with that, it's better you use the pen and paper, or maybe in my case, I use iPad, so that if it is wrong, then you can easily erase it, and then you draw it again, and then, you know, until you got a good, more or less final design before you go to the case tool. Okay. So, alright, that's all for the activity diagram, because the concept is still the same, to represent the process flow of the business. Okay. Or in another word, you want to show the process flow of a use case that you have in your use case diagram. So before this, you have used sequence diagram. Now we go to activity diagram. So how an activity diagram looks like. So basically, it has action and control flow. Okay, that's why I told you it's just like you learn in FOP. So the action is action lah. The main flow, the one that you have in your sequence in your use case description. However, you have to be careful of this. It is not represented by using a rectangle, but by a rounded, this rectangle with rounded corners. Okay, so and then it has a meaningful name, of course, and it's always begin with verb. Okay, so you have to be careful on that. All right, I don't want to repeat this because you know, I think this one in the last part of the exam, you have to draw an activity diagram. Okay, the next one is the control flow. Control flow is just open arrow lah, like this, open arrow. Okay, and then it's a model the path of execution one after another. Okay, very straightforward. All right. So how will it start? Start with this initial node, black circle, and then it will end with final node. Okay, black circle in white circle. Okay, and then other than action and the flow, you also have this diamond to represent the decision. Okay, so because we know that whether you're going to represent if else, while loop, for loop, it's always about decision, right? There is a condition for that. So if you're drawing an activity diagram, how to represent that is by having this diamond, okay, followed by that the condition lah, true or false or something. But it's better to have a meaningful word for this, so that when people read your activity diagram, then they understand how the process works. Okay. So that is the basic notation of activity diagram. Start with the initial node, end with the final node, and then you have action with the rounded rectangle, and then you have this open arrow for process flow, and then you also have diamond in the case where you have decision. Okay. All right. So in a sequence diagram, it is hardly to represent parallel process. Okay, this parallel process. It is hardly to present. However, in activity diagram, it's very easy because we have fork and join. This one is fork. Okay. And then this is join. Alright. Fork, it means that it's open lah. Open. Okay. Join when it join back. Okay. So you cannot have can you have fork and join not together? It means that if you have fork, not necessarily you will have join. Okay. It's always fork comes with join, but not necessarily. You also can have a situation where you have join without fork. Okay, because at the end it shows parallel process. Okay, for this class, we're going to use UML 2.0. If you read somewhere, in the Google, if there is some notation that use UML 1.0 or 1. Whatever lah, okay. But then for their activity diagram, the multiple flow from action were implicitly or it could is not compulsory one after another. It could, you can skip. Okay, let's say after you add a customer, you can edit, So the process is you have to add first and then you edit. That one is a 2.0. But for 1.0, you can skip the add and then straight away go to edit. It's not an situation. However, in 1.0, we are using UML 2.0, which is very straightforward, which is one after another, n. Okay. And then the guard condition do not have to be mutually exclusive, but it is advisable that they should be. Decision should be strictly nested, but a merge point can be combined with a following decision point. Okay. Alright. So another one about activity diagram is you can also show what objects involved for a particular action. We seldom use this, but if you saw this in your reference, it is not wrong, So this one to show that when record completion of a campaign, so the campaign class will activate. One is the record is stored in the database, for example, then the class campaign is completed. Okay, so this one is to show what objects involved for particular action. I don't really use this because it will make my diagram messy. But then sometimes there are certain situations your activity is so simple, so you can add this. Okay, you can add this activity, because sometimes people want to look something. When it comes to, you have to remember, UML is about visualization. Visual means simple, but then meaningful. But if sometimes if you put the visual too simple, we afraid that there are some information missing. So that's why we add more notation, so that if you think that the diagram is so simple, like something like this, you see, this is the start node, and then this is the end node. It's so simple. The process is just record completion of a campaign. So we afraid that people do not understand what does this mean. So that's why UML come up with another way to refine the activity diagram, so which allow you to add classes for this particular action. Okay, that's why sometimes some of you already done this for your use case diagram. They put notes in the use cases, together with the use cases, so that when people read the use case diagram, they have extra information as well. So that it's more easy to read, to understand. Okay, that is a good practice anyway. And then the object is in the rectangle. See? Object is always in rectangle. So that is why this one should be rounded. If not, then we as a designer, we confuse whether you're talking about a class or an action. A class is always normal rectangle. Action must use rounded one. Okay? I don't want to repeat this. Please do not make this silly mistake. It's very straightforward notation. Okay. What should I do with this? So far, you have looked into basic notation of activity diagrams. What are those? Initial, node, end node, action, and flow. Okay, so this one, which is represent object, is optional. Okay, however, and also you have looked into diamond. Alright, when diamond is for if else with the guide lah. Okay, there is another one in the activity diagram where we always use this. We call it as a swim lane. Alright, swim lane is only a vertical column label with person or organization or department name or object name or system name that responsible for the activities in that column. So you can see that this campaign manager, accountant, client. So the campaign manager will record completion of the campaign, and the accountant will issue the invoice, and the client will pay invoice. So once the client has paid the invoice, then the campaign manager will record the client payment. Alright. So this one is the people, the person involved for this particular activity diagram. So this is how you you create the swim lane. You remember that when you develop use case diagram, there are some situations at the beginning when you are developing your use case diagram, you put all the actors, all the people involved for your system, right? And then you realize that even though you have many people involved or many people going to use your use case diagram, however, you cannot differentiate their responsibility. For example, undergraduate students can register subject. We also have postgraduate students. Postgraduate students can also register subject. And then you know that if you want to put undergraduate and postgraduate in your use case diagram, they must have different responsibilities. They must have different use cases. But then you cannot differentiate that. Right. So at the end, you come up with a student, regardless undergraduate, postgraduate. But you know that there are certain situations where a postgraduate student will do something else, you know, and undergraduate student will do something else. So this is where activity diagram is a place where you differentiate that. You can have, here undergraduate student, postgraduate student, maybe postdoc. Right? For example, let's say accommodation system in the college. So for undergraduate students, you have to register through the system, and then you have to go to the bursary to pay the fee. But then for postgraduate students, they don't have to register. They automatically will get the accommodation. They just straight away pay the fee. For postdoc, they have to bid, for example. So there is a different situation, but actually they are talking about applying accommodation in the college. So the activity diagram is a place where allows you to differentiate all the actors or person involved in your system. Okay. So drawing activity diagram, what is the purpose? Influence the kind of activities that shown, basically show you the business flow lah. That is the easy one. So what is being shown in the diagram? Business process, alright, use case or operation. This one is the business process lah, and the use case. Operation is this one is like method or function. This one you will not show in the activity diagram. Okay. Very detailed one you will not. Let's say get function or set function. This one no. But then if you the operation something like register account, this one yes. Okay. Sorry network slow. So dia terhenti sekejap. Okay. So what I just told you just now is what is exactly that you want to show in the diagram. Basically the business process. Okay. The easy way is to show the use case. Okay. And then also the operation. However, if the operation is very like as simple as get or set, you will not show it in the activity diagram. But if something like register account, then that is possible lah. That is okay. Okay. And then same as the sequence diagram, what level of detail is required? So you have to know whether the purpose of you drawing the activity diagram is a high level or more detailed. Okay. At this point, referring to your project, you are more towards this, more detail. Okay. Usually when you go outside, when you start working, sometimes you go for high level. They do not want to know the detail part. They just want to know the first layer, the conceptual layer of the system. So it's quite easy to understand lah. You don't have to go to the database, save that one, display message, that kind of thing. They do not want to know. So that one is more detailed activity diagram. So, however, that's why I'm telling you that for your project is more detailed. That's why if you have 10 use cases, then you're going to have 10 activity diagrams, something like that. Okay. High level, usually you only have 1 or 2. That's it. Okay. Okay. So let's start. Choose a business process. Okay, you have to review the requirement definition and the use case diagram created to represent the requirement. Usually we refer to the use case diagram, simpler. And then we have to identify the action. First, choose. Second, identify action. Okay. So what happens when a new client is added in the A-gate system? This one for example, okay. So this happens. We add a new client, assign staff contact, add new campaign, and there is another one, I think, okay, I don't know, no. Bullets cannot cover everything. So so you have to identify actions. The easy way to identify action is through use case description. Okay? Your use case description is very, very critical. Because if it's too simple, you cannot draw your sequence diagram. Same goes to activity diagram. It will affect the whole diagram, the whole thing. Okay? So that's why there are some groups I ask you to redo because it's too simple. When I say that at least you must have 3 main flows, then you just give me 3. Then you will got stuck with all the other diagrams. Good luck for that. You cannot be lazy in the design. If your design is good, you will help programmers to program. Okay, so it has So first you draw activity diagram. So this is how it looks like lah. As simple as you got initial node, and then you got end node, and then start with the arrow first, and then add a new client, and then assign staff contact, and then add new campaign, and then you assign staff to campaign. Okay, so this one based on this one lah. Okay, let me go to this. Okay, it's a very straightforward. Okay, one after another. So this is a simple, the first thing you will do. Then after that, you start to refine. Okay. You have to know whether there is any alternate flows. Okay. So that is why your alternate flows or exception flows are critical. If you do not have that, can you imagine how your activity diagram looks like? It's like, because there is no such thing as a perfect situation, isn't it? Especially when it involves end user. When your system has end user, there is a person, there is a people, a person use the system. There will be so many situations. Even to log in, you forgot password, you forgot ID, you click wrong thing, you do not forget, but then you key in wrong password, even by login. So, it's a worse scenario for other use cases. Register, select something, I do not know. So that is why if you notice that your use case description is so simple, go back and redo, because at the end for your project, we will look at your end report. Whatever you have submit is fine, but then at the end, what we want to see is a final report. It should change over time. Okay, so back to activity diagram. you have to look at the alternate flow, right? For example, sometimes there is a new campaign to add for a new client, sometimes not, for example, okay, for this case. And then sometimes that we want to assign stuff to the campaign, sometimes not. Okay, so and then you have to add division and merge nodes, flows, and guide condition to the diagram, since there are some alternate flows here. Okay, so for that one, we change it to this. Okay, just add the diamond. So add a new client that assign staff contact. Then if campaign is add, then it's add new campaign. If not, then if campaign is not added, then end of story. Okay, end of process. So if campaign to if after assign staff contact they want to add new campaign, then they will assign staff to campaign. If there is no staff to assign, then end of process again. So you can see how it goes. If you have diamond, okay, and then you will end with this diamond. Oh, okay. Is this compulsory? Is this compulsory? How to say? There are some situations. Oh, this one because it has double. And off. And this one to represent it. This one to represent this. This one to represent this. Can you combine it? Because sometimes we combine. If you go to some references, they just combine it. It will become a sign and then end. It become like this. Let me show you whether it is allowed or not. Start this. Okay. And then there is another diamond. And then okay. Alright, so after this one, sometimes they go straight away like this. And this one is also okay. I've seen this. There's nothing wrong with that. Or is it wrong? I'm not sure. But most of the time, I saw this many times. It looks okay. Not necessarily. It means that once you have a diamond, not necessarily you have to have another diamond to join it. Not necessarily. Okay. Not necessarily. No? My book is not necessarily. But join them. Join them. Join. So unless it's combined for many things, combine many things is different. In this situation, this is acceptable. So the question is, doctor, which one we should use? Up to you lah. You can use this one, You can use this one or this one. Whichever comfortable. Because it means same thing. At the end, after assign staff to campaign, end of process. So whether you want to use number 1 or number 2, it says same thing. So it's okay. Right? Any question? Soalan? Kena tidur lah. Saya je.
Excuse me, Doctor.
Yeah.
What if the after the diamond it's not the end of the process? Do we still need the second diamond?
Yes. In that case, you need a second diamond.
Thank you,
It's
Doctor.
just like this. It depends. If it, let's say I'm using this one. This is another process. Right. Another process. Another action. Okay. So you don't need. You go back to the next one. It becomes like this. Add new campaign. If there is no stuff to assign, go to another process. Add new campaign. If there is a stuff to assign stuff to campaign, then go to another process. No, you don't have to. You can have this like this. Not necessarily you need another diamond. If you have another diamond, it means that what you are trying to say, it will look like this. Add new campaign, and then you got diamond, and then you got assign stuff to campaign, and then you got another diamond, and then you got another process. It's going to be long. Right. No, you don't have to. You don't have to. Tak payah ada pun tak ada. You don't have to. You can straight away go to this one, another process. More my textbook. Straight away. Straight away. Okay. Any other questions? Ada. Okay. Alright. Because for me, this one is taken from another example. For me, diamond is always about branching out. For me, branching out. That is why I say this example looks weird to me. Because when I see a diamond, it means I will branching out with the condition. Yes or no. Regardless lah whether it's a if else or for loop. Isn't it? It's not about joining it together. Joining it together, usually we use for and join, the bar. Like that. That is different. Okay, use this one lah. For my class, you all guna ni. Simpler. Okay, any other question? Can we just use one diamond for both of condition at the end? Yes, you can. Why we use this example?
So you're saying that a diamond needs to end with another diamond?
No, you don't have to. It's just like this. One diamond and then all combined. Is it okay? If you want to have n diamond, it means that you must have n diamond for all started diamonds. Because it will make people confused if you just, this one you have n, this one you do not have n, you know? That is
But
why.
one just asked that if you can end those two diamonds with only one.
Only one what?
He asked that if the two diamonds can
Hmm.
only end with only one diamond at the bottom.
Ah, because that is what I'm telling you. If you have two diamonds, and then you should have two-ended diamond. If you only have one, it will make things confused because this diamond represents which diamond. If you want to have n diamond, then you should have all n diamonds. If not, then you just remove the diamond. Straight away go to the next process. Or in this case, the next process is the end node. Then straight away go to the end node. If we have include or extend use case, include, extend use case, we need to draw them in form of, oh yeah, good question. Activity diagram, they don't have reference. So how to do that? Go to that one. Yeah, ada reference. Let me check my book. As far as I remember, you will put that all in one activity diagram. Let me double check for that. Okay, Lynn? Any other questions? Ada reference. Okay. Alright. Okay, next. Identify any action that I carry out in parallel. Okay, if there is a parallel. In this case, no parallel. And then if there is, you have to add for and join. And then identify any processes that are repeated. Okay, loop. For example, here they say that we want to assign stuff to the campaign until there are no more stuff to add. Okay, for example. So in that case, you have decision and merge node. This is different. Okay. When you have repeat, okay, when you have repeat situation, then you have this 1, 2. They're called decision and merge. Okay. Now, this is where we say this is as decision, and this one as merge. In the situation of repeat for while. Okay, so that's different. Previously, we talked about branching out if else. If else is the if else. There's no repeat. If go to this way, else go to this way. That's it. At the end, then we come to the end node. Repeat is different. In this case, no stuff to assign. And then, let's say if there is stuff to assign, then assign stuff to campaign, and then go back to the division node. Stuff to assign, yes. Assign stuff to the campaign, and then repeat. And then suddenly there is no stuff to assign. So it will go back to the merge node so that it can go to the end node. Then that is repeat. Okay. So it's totally different. So this one is totally different. It's not the previous one. Okay. However, there are some situations people still do not use this merge node. They just simply go to the end node. Also can. I can accept that. But because there is no saying that this is wrong or not, but this is more appropriate lah. When you see this, you can see there is a loop there, right? Okay. Are all the activities carried out by the same person, organization, or department? Okay. So before we go there, after you have draw everything, the next question is you have to figure out whether you can separate all the actions, right, into person, organization, department, or based on responsibility. Okay, up to you. Uh, you add swim lanes to show the responsibility, and then you have to name the swim lane. So this is how it looks like. Okay, using the same activity diagram. So you break into two swim lanes. Add a new client meant for administrator and assign star blah 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 meant for campaign manager. Okay. So now you have the swim lane. Swim lane just split it. Most of the time, student will do this one user, this one system. Something like that. Like this one, user, or maybe in your case you got customer ke, doesn't matter lah. You know, you just put one for the actor and what the system will do. Okay. And then last question. Are there any object flows and objects to show? This can be documents that are created or updated in the business activity diagram, and this can be object instances that change state in an operation or a use case. Then you have to add. Okay, example lah, like this. Okay, and when you go to add new client, a new object for client is created. New, okay, and add new campaign, then the campaign commission. This is another way. Just want to show what are the objects, created when this process happens. Okay, then it become like this. Last one, siapa yang tukar ni? This is wrong. This is wrong. It should be SD. Doesn't matter lah. But usually I use a small. I use exactly from the space, so it's a small letter. This one is SD. SD means you will use SD for sequence diagram, activity diagram, timing diagram, state diagram, all SD. SD means interaction. Another one is a communication. All start with SD. So this is the final one. This is the final diagram. Okay. Any questions? All right. So if there is no question, I want to give you an exercise. I give you how many minutes? 5 minutes lah, right? Nearly 10 already. So it's basically that's all for activity diagram. There are more, if you want to know more, there are more lah, more notation. For example, the node is not only have initial node and final node, they also have a flow final node, something like that. And then you got what else? For and join is a parallel. And then the easy way to know when you're going to use a for and join is at the same time. If you have a situation where at the same time there we are, then you start using the for. Okay. And then they also have pin notation. Pin you don't need that pin notation to show what parameter use for particular action. Kita tak payah guna lah. Go for the simple one. Right? So now this is an exercise for you to do. I just took it from the previous slide. Same use case, register an e-wall account, and then instead of drawing the sequence diagram, you have to draw an activity diagram. So see how it will look like. Okay, you can start doing it now. I will call your name and then, or maybe you can share your answer in the chat room. Okay? All right. In the meantime, if you have questions, you can ask me questions. Ada sesiapa jawapan? Anyone wants to share the answer? Okay. Anyone wants to share the answer? Tak ada lah kan? Okay, before we start answering the question, okay, let me show you again, okay, about this. Alright. Let me show back the first one. Oh, slow network. Okay. Okay. Let me clean up this first. Right. for this one, my concern is, okay, when after you add a new client, you want to assign staff contact, okay, staff contact, okay. So if there is no campaign to add, then it will go to here, okay, and then if there is a campaign to add, then you add new campaign. Once you go to add new campaign, then you will ask whether there is a staff to assign. Okay, if there is no staff to assign, so you will go to here. Alright. Okay. So how to say? When you have diamond, right? All direction must have guide. Must have guide. Guide 1, guide 2. Okay. Right. So this one, for this one is okay because there is guide, no campaign to add. For this, another one, okay, that one, okay, that is okay because no stuff to assign guide, okay. However, my concern is this one. There is no guide here and there is no guide here. Okay, so that is why I feel this one is weird. But then, as long as we can understand how it flows, then it should be okay. I don't want to say this is the correct one or this is the wrong one because I will give you information where you do not rely on the PowerPoint slide only. There are times where you need, there are times. You must also refer to other things as well. Okay. So the other thing or the other references, there will be a situation where, for example, let's say I focus on this. I can have something like add new campaign, diamond, and then assign staff to campaign, and then I will end of flow. Okay. Same thing if this one you got staff to assign. This one you got no staff to assign. So you will go back to here. It's end of story. Okay. So this is the reason why you can have this one number one as well, not only the example. Okay, so that's one. Second, referring to link question on include and extend, what you can do is something like this. Is there any example? Yes, just use the final diagram. Okay, let's say I use this diagram and then let's say let's say okay, let's say this one will go to include use case. Okay, included use case. Alright, so what you can do is name this action as the name of the included or extended use case. Okay. Alright. This one applies to extended as well. So the notation is still the same because the rounded rectangle represents action. It's not a method or function. No, it's not. So action, it means that there are so many methods inside that. So many things happen in one action. So that's why you can go back to, you can refer to the included or extended use case lah. Okay. So then the other activity diagram is the included one. All right. Any question? Okay kan? So go back to this question. It's very simple actually. So let's say there's this. Okay. How about activity diagram cannot fit within one page? What do you mean? Cannot fit in one page? Too long. Oh, there is a notation for that. I forgot. I understand, but I forgot, Moy. But I know that your diagram, the frame cannot be a full frame. It's a dotted at the end. No, something like this. That one is sure for sure. Something like this. That. And then if we go back to sure lah. Up to you lah what to do. But as long as we understand, it goes to the next page. I'm not remember. Forgot already. I will check for you. Next class. Okay. Any other question? Anyone from group 6? Do you have any question? Okay. No question, it means okay lah kan? Alright, let's see. Okay, what we got here. So since we already have the sequence diagram, so it makes our life easier lah basically. Alright. So what we have to do is just refer to the sequence diagram. I just take from the previous slide so that you can see the what you call that, the continuity between the slide, something like that. Alright. Okay, so from the sequence diagram, we just look at the process. So the first process is register e-wallet button, kan? So it's always start with the initial node, okay, and then register. Okay, this one, little bit like human language. Okay. Because by right, people can understand your process. So I don't put register e-wallet button lah because that is a function. So this one register through e-wallet button. Okay. And then after that, there's the validate customer. Then go lah validate customer. Then after that, you have to search information. And then, before that, can you hear my fan just now? Can you all hear my fan? The sound of my fan. Okay.
No,
I thought you can hear. Thank you very much. Because my headphone can hear everything, but I'm not sure whether you can hear or not. I hope you cannot hear. Alright, after you go for search information, then what? Anyone? Anyone? Alright, so far we got this. What is that? Oh, it's not the same as the sequence diagram. Penat je aku bagi sequence diagram. Then branch out. So information, then branch out. How about reply info? Validate customer also is a system. See? I take it from number one, main flow number one, and then second action, main flow number two, and then third action, main flow number three. So far is tally with the sequence diagram lah. Okay. And then my question is, what is the next action? So most of you say branch out. Okay. But my question is, why do not? That is part of the process, right? If you say reply info is for the system, but then I'm sure some of your friends also will ask the same question. Validate customer also is for the system. Yes, correct. It is a response. It's just like this. Even when you draw a sequence diagram, you go for the search information through the table, and then after that, you know that if the result is okay, then you will register e-wallet. However, you cannot simply register e-wallet, because validate customer control needs a value. Before it allows to register e-wallet. Okay, so the value comes from reply info. that one is very much into programming code. Okay, so activity diagram is more on the business process, right? So you go for the search information, and then after that you branch out lah. Okay. If right, if first, what is the guide? Not registered. This one is then you will display message. You can also have this register to the e-wallet. Okay. And then you will display a message. Alright, if already registered, this one lah. So it will display, sorry, I just want to make it consistent. Display and error message. Okay, so this one to represent this part lah, the alternate. Okay, so then after that it will end of story lah. Kan? Alright, question. Some of you remove this. It's okay. This one is optional. Wait kena start sharing again. Kita start slow. Alright. Okay. So I combine. No, I take the action. You know, my actions basically I take it from exactly from the sequence diagram. Okay. But then whatever I took from the sequence diagram, it must come from the use case description. Alright, that's why I don't really need the extra thing in the sequence diagram. Right? You cannot combine, Adham. You combine display error message with the display message. Because there are two different kind of message. Right? One is a display, you are successfully registered. Another one, display, you have registered into the system. And then it comes from two different guides. Any other question? Alright. So from here, this is not complete yet. Okay. And then is there any swim lane that you can contribute? You can apply for this one? Yes. Alright. There is one part is from the customer. Customer, this customer. And then there is one part is all talking about system. Okay. So I can break this into into two swim lanes. Okay. Okay. Okay, so what I can do now, right? Okay. Okay. Alright. So we just go to this one for customer. This one is the smaller. No. Let's make it like this first. Okay, this one for customer. One for system. Okay. The back. Copy paste je lah. Okay. Something like this. Wait, stop. Okay. Okay. So whether you want to put the end node on the system or the one is up to you. Doesn't matter. Okay. And then this one. This is SD. Register. The wallet account. Like this. Okay. This is is going to zoom out. For the time being, let me check your message. What are validate customer action and person. Why? Because it comes from the main flow of the use case description. Validate and then search. Oh yeah. Searching. Searching process. Searching is searching, right? Validate is validate. Validate, you want to validate after searching and got the result. Right. Yeah. Earn already answer. Validation from UI to control, while search from control to entity. Yeah, it's a different process. Okay, it's just like this. When you say validate customer, right, it doesn't mean that you will have one method to validate. You can have like method inside method inside, go call that library, go, it involves a lot of things in order to validate. Before go to search, for example, go to search is you're not simply accessing the database. It could be in some situations you have to open the encrypted data first, blah blah blah, and then once it's decrypted, then you can search, and then after that you encrypt back, and then comes back to you, right? So that's for search alone. So that is why we do not combine it together. And then in fact, in the sequence diagram, we have validate just for validation only. It's under control. Okay, and then go to database of the entity. Any other question? Good question. Okay, it looks like everyone is good with the activity. Usually you don't have problem with the activity diagram. It's very simple, straightforward. Nothing weird about activity diagram lah, usually. If search information process is not mentioned in the main flow, can we consider validate and include the search information? Okay. Search information process is not mentioned. Yes, you can. Any other questions?
Doctor, I have a question.
Yes.
For such information, shouldn't it be done after if the validation customer is true? Because step 2 is extraction flow, means step 2 is a decision, like split it into 2, right?
Oh, okay. It's just like this. Let me. Okay. What you are saying is, after we validate the customer, then we search information. So if the search information is true means what? What is true? What information is true?
Means
The data.
the main flow, if the second step true means register before, then display error. If false, then it will search the account, search the email and username. So the search.
You are not talking searching information about register or not register.
Sorry, I don't understand.
When you say about after searching information, and then if the information is validate, the information that you are talking about, what is the data?
Oh no, my question is for validate customer. Validate customer is actually the decision to decide that whether we should proceed with step 3, search information. So the system validate there should be a diamond. Then if it is not registered before, then we search information instead of we search information then to the diamond.
Oh, understand. Okay, I'm not sure. I hope I understand you correct lah. Okay, my diagram means validate validate the customer. Yeah. Oh, validate customer and then search information. Because I take it from the sequence diagram directly. In order to validate customer, and then it go to the search information. And then from that search information, the result will determine whether registered or not registered. So in what you are trying to say that this searching information is inside validate the customer. It means the whole thing. Register the diamond thing is under validate the customer. Right.
Yeah, after the diamond and search information, because I'm thinking about something like Grab. You have an account, you will buy a Grab food, then suddenly Grab publish an e-wallet, then you register the e-wallet. Grab will check in their database whether this person buy Grab food before, then register a new account. Means account already there, but the e-wallet account not there yet. Something like this. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay, I understand. The system validates the e-wallet being registered before. The system searches the account for. No wonder you all combined just now. Main flow register, validate customer, and then the system searches. Validate. Ini is a part of. It's a function. And then that validate function will call search function. That search function will check the database. The whole thing is validate is a function. Main function search is inside, but it's not inside. Call another function search. I understand, but somehow there is something missing. Can you simply combine? I understand what you are trying to say. Okay, can you show us your diagram? Ada.
Yeah, is there a method to draw? Because I draw on my paper, maybe I should use MS Team to draw.
So I have to stop sharing, okay?
But I'm not sure this.
Can you snap to your handphone and then
Sure, doctor.
I understand what is Chui is trying to say is actually the validation and the search and this one is one thing. You know, all of this is under one thing. Ya Allah, langsung ibu. Okay, never mind. Under one thing. So that is why just now the previous one I saw the same. Okay. That is why Omar has that one. Customer click register e-wallet and then validate. But then your system validate e-wallet too shouldn't have no, that sentence should be in an action, not inside that diamond, you know. Now I understand why you have that one. You have something like this. But register, make it simpler, right? And then validate, and then diamond, and then display. This one display error. Salah. Hmm. That validate we have search information. Yalah. Suddenly Omar's answer is correct. Let's say, can you share validate is like you want to process the input from the user, register with the info from the database. Correct, but everything is still inside the system. The system process it, whether it goes to database ke control ke, right? So in this case, if we go something like this, if we make it with swim lane, okay lah, try to grab everything. Right. Something like this. Okay. Register. And I registered? No, search.
Yeah, this is what
Oh.
step 3 is if fill then search.
Oh. But then okay, okay. You have the idea but somehow change a little bit. It's a change a little bit. Okay, if you use this one, if I'm using this diagram, your answer, what you are trying to say is the customer register. And then suddenly, it could be the customer is not go to the anywhere, it's straight away. Maybe the customer do not key in anything or what, register no or yes. If let's say the customer do not key in anything, and then we go to search account. You see, after register through e-wallet, it means that the end user will key in the information and click the button register, right? And then what happens is after you click the button, the system will take the information to check. That is what we say about the validation. So you miss that search account. That search account should be before the registered diamond. Register, if you give me register and then search account, and then after that, it will check whether the result of the search account, this person already registered or not, no or yes, then it will go to
Okay.
next step.
Get it, doctor. I think I make it complex. Yeah. Sorry.
Alright. It's okay. Good answer anyway. Okay, let's see what others comment here. Can we understand the control class as the backend staff? Of course, backend staff, and then the entity as database. He is database. The name of the table in database. I'm not sure on whether you are in my class or not in my class. But for my class, I already mentioned many times. Entity is the name of the table in your database. Okay, you learn in the ER diagram, right? So, validate customer is a method inside the bank, of course. And backend has to search the database by search information, correct, to check if the username and email entered by the user, which are passed to the validate customer, correct. If the username and email are there, means the e-wallet is registered, correct, and vice versa. Thus, the diamond is after the search info, correct. It's not ugly diagram, so it's okay. So, Wan Muhammad, so does that mean both versions are acceptable? Partly yang tak suka. I don't like this part. I have to accept the fact that the one that I reject is the correct one. Omar answer is correct. Mana tu? I thought activity diagram is It's easy tau. That's why last time I never teach activity diagram. Wait, let me check the editing. But then the one that I want to, still Omar cannot get the full mark because he put system validates e-wallet registered before inside the diamond. Do not do this. I know that you have done this in the FOP, but for activity diagram, by right lah actually, you shouldn't put that inside this diamond. That one is what the one control flow, the one you learn lah. Okay. The system validate e-wallet registered before, that one is in the action before go to the diamond. Something like the one that I draw here. Okay. Register through e-wallet, blah, blah, blah. And then after that, the system will validate whatever the information the customer key in on that page. Right. Validate. Here. And then if the user is registered, so I need a guide here. This one is registered. Okay. Sorry, terbalik ah. Sorry, terbalik. This one not registered. This one registered. Okay. So it will display, congratulations, you have been successfully registered to our e-wallet system. Okay. So if the user already registered, then it will display error message lah. You have been registered. Okay. Something like that. Alright. One thing about this, because I know that some of you will confuse, because my first version, I took it exactly from the sequence diagram. It's very straightforward. I don't have to think. Copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. That's it. I just convert the if else, the alternate into diamond. Alright. However, when I look at it again, actually this search information, you can combine with this. Alright. So that's why I only have validate customer. So when the system wants to validate customer, it means that the system has to go to the database to check that information exists or not in the system. Right now. So it's inside that. The result of the validation is whether the user has been registered or not. So I combine it together. Doctor, can we just simply put the search information as an action? We do not combine. We put just like your first version. Can lah? Because it's tally with the main flow. But it's not really a good activity diagram lah. Not really a good activity diagram. It should be this one. This. Lambat dah naik wait Wait. Wait sabar. I have to stop sharing. And then share again. Share screen. Start broadcast. Open my GoodNotes. Okay. So this is the one now. I simplify the action name because not enough space. I put here star. So the first version, is it acceptable? Acceptable lah. Dia half star. Betul lah. Mana satu yang betul? Up to you lah. Okay je. Because at the end, I always refer to your main flow. And if you do it well, you always change your use case description. You just realize, we did it wrong lah. We have to redo the use case description. After. Okay, things question. Doctor, entity in the sequence diagram is actually referred to entity. Yeah, correct. Whatever you have, the one that you draw as something like this, you call it as entity, must exist equivalent to the one in the ERD. Name of the table. For final year project, right? When we look at your database and we see that you have 5 tables, and then that 5 tables with the name, let's say customer, manager, all that 5 must exist in your class diagram. You will look into your class diagram whether you use the same name or not. And then in your entity diagram, right, if you say like customer, the attributes are ID, name, address, salary. So we will look into your class diagram and see whether you have ID, name, address and salary or not. It must tally, because once you draw a class diagram, you pass to the developer and the developer knows that, oh, these are the entity that I should create as table in database. Your design should help the developer. Okay? No. If it's true, that means the entity class should not have any operation. No, it combines. It combines with the one. Okay, sometimes let's say customer class, right? Customer class is an entity and also a class that you develop in the Java, for example. Okay, that happens a lot. Okay, so because you want to do the operation to access the database, so your class diagram you will name it as sorry, just now is customer. Customer, right? And then you will have this ID, name, address, and then you also have this set. Let's say you have get info, basic learning. So this one, you will have it in your entity, your ERD. Okay, this one in your implementation, doesn't matter lah. What is it for? UI ke, for control ke, doesn't matter. You will join it. Then there's sometimes control we call customer info function to, all the processes calling, like the one you did in Java. It's both. That is why UML 2.0, we do not have something like this. Nila, because you will combine. We remove this. You just put the name. That's it. The one that you show the class type is the sequence diagram. Sequence diagram, because we want to know the flow. That one is different lah. This one we're talking about class diagram. Okay. Any questions? This is a very good question, because If any batch, if there is no one ask me this question, it means I think half of that students do not understand class diagram. I know for sure. There must be someone ask this question. I can explain, I always explain every semester, I explain the same thing. But if you do not compute, you will not remember. So if you ask question, it means that your brain is working. It means that you are learning. So I will repeat the same thing. Actually, this answer is already repeated many times. Okay. All the class no matter boundary entry can contain some control method, not only control class. Yes, correct. Control class, usually control class is very special class, Of course, in the, let's say for validate, a normal validate, actually we don't really need a control, right? It's very simple. But there are certain class that is very critical to have it as a console. I think more than half of proposed project by you all involve artificial intelligence, right? You got sentiment analysis lah, you got agent lah, you got all these intelligent things to do, blah 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 blah. All of this is control. You access API and then calculate something and come up with something lah. All this is control. It involves so many things. But then it's all the process. It's all about algorithm. If you talk about sentiment analysis, definitely inside that you will have something like, machine learning algorithm ke, I do not know, something. Definitely. Currently, all system has AI, so you cannot run from this. Regardless whether you are AI student ke, SE student ke, IS ke, all must know AI, know how to call SVM library and all. It's compulsory. Any other questions? It's getting interesting, isn't it? You're getting to understand more and more about class diagram while learning activity diagram. Okay, I think that's all for today. Very interesting. I hope you learn. For those who keep quiet, I hope you understand. If you do not understand, please ask questions. As far as I remember, okay, you don't need to submit activity diagram, right? As far as I remember, you have to submit sequence diagram, but we will ask you activity diagram in exam, correct? Next week is still use case and class, tak apa-apa dah. Next week is exam, but then use case and class. If you cannot answer the use case question, I do not know what to say. You have to pray that you will not meet me during final year project, because I will scrutinize your use case diagram like hell. You must be able to should score that part. Okay? So for next week, since everyone is here, I hope all the group 6 are here. Still not here lah. Okay, never mind. For coming exam, it's not MCQ. Okay, so it means that we will give you case study and then you have to draw. Alright, so there are two ways to draw. Whether you want to use paper and pen, paper can doesn't matter lah, or you want to use tools. Alright, if you want to use tools, make sure you practice a lot. Okay, you know where to go. If you did it wrong, you know to delete blah blah, fast. So the concept is fast, right? If you use iPad or tab like me, it's quite easy because you can straight away convert this to PDF and send it the answer. But if you do not have, you have to use a paper. So you have to take picture. Alright. So you have to practice. If practice now, you draw and then you take a picture and then make sure the lighting is okay so that I can see your picture, your diagram, and then how big the picture will be. You know, you have to cater all of that. All of that. Do not simply, whatever lah. You have to prepare. Because of the technology, we do not know. This one is not like face to face is easy. Right. Okay. Activity diagram next week ke? Tomorrow lah. Kan? Next week is exam. Tomorrow activity diagram. Sequence diagram. Sequence next week activity. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Oh, you have to do both sequence and activity. Alright. I forgot about activity there. I remember sequence diagram this week. Tomorrow, Thursday, this Thursday. That sequence diagram. But then I know exam is activity. Please refer the course information. Do not trust my word. I forgot everything. Please refer. Everything is there. You will not change. Okay. I think that's all for today. Thank you very much. Yeah, next week exam as well. What are you trying to imply? Okay, see you on next on Thursday for tutorial session. Okay, thank you and see you. Bye.